with a team whose captain got famous by saying strike rates are overrated. Uh, so you probably know which player I'm talking about and which team I'm talking about. So, guys, I want to know from both of you: are strike rates really overrated?
I think you're going to know the answer that I'm going to give you for that, Gurkha. I'll certainly, they are not overrated. We know that there's a huge correlation between strike rate and boundary percentage, and if you're a below average boundary hitter, it's basically impossible for you to strike at over 140 strike rate. And we also know that around 85% of matches in the IPL or any in the Indian Premier in the league or any T20 league, Big Bash, 100, Blast, etc. All about 85% of matches are won by the team with the highest boundary percentage in the match. So it's clear that strike rates do matter. It's clear that boundary percentage does matter. So I think Rahul has now tripled down on his statements. So it'll be really interesting to see how he approaches this coming season.
Somesh?
Yeah, I mean, strike rates are as overrated as actually winning the game. Or winning the title, I must say, not just the game.
Uh, do you guys think that Lucknow have strengthened their squad from the last tournament? Do you think they've done some positive reinforcements in the auction, or do you think they are pretty much the same squad that they were last time?
It looks like they're going to structure up, I think, pretty similarly. Obviously, they've brought in Nicholas Paran, which is if we get the good Paran, that's certainly a bonus. But they spent a lot of money on him. They looks like they're going to lose Mohsin Khan for most of the season with injury. So that's the problem that they're going to need to overcome. What I don't like is that I still feel like there's this like top five, and then the batting really stops. Krunal has not had high strike rates for a number of years with the bat, and looks like he would slot in at probably 6. And then there's no real domestic pace all rounder that you can really fit in as a success 7, apart from Prerak Mankad. And then you've got kind of potentially 4 number 10s or number 11s. So for me, that's a slight issue. Maybe they're going to structure up differently. One way they could do that would be to lose, say, a Mark Wood from the starting 11 and bring in someone like Daniel Sams instead. But then you lose on bowling quality, as Sams' numbers with the ball are not great. So yeah, there's some decisions that they're going to have to make, I think.
So I mean, in my opinion, Puran's addition is definitely a very big plus because he's definitely not a player who feels strike rate is overrated, and his presence, him being a left-hander, a spin basher, would provide impetus to their batting lineup. However, last season, one of the biggest concerns for Lucknow were the death bowling. They were, on paper, they were the worst death bowling side on bowling economy. And what they've done is essentially fired everyone overseas involved for that. They don't have Chamira, they don't have Jason Holder. I mean, even Jason Holder was not primarily a death bowler, but was pretty much used at that front. Now, I'm not sure they've done enough to plug that. They've bought in Naveen ul Haq, but it will be very difficult to make a choice between him and Wood if they want to sort that out. And given now Mohsin is primarily out, and Avesh Khan struggled in the last IPL and has been struggling for India as well since, that still remains a gap. Unless, of course, they structure the side very differently. To that, I have one opinion, and I would discuss with what I think with you guys in due course.
I agree. That's the key situation is how that deployment of the non-batting overseas, if you like, because I think that the De Kock, Paran, Stoinis are probably going to be mainstays of this squad. So there's a lot of players kind of competing for that 4th overseas berth. I think Naveen shores up the death bowling a lot more than Mark Wood would. However, Wood obviously has a higher reputation and a higher price tag as well, so that tends to influence decision makers. And then you would have a Sams or a Shepherd if you wanted to compromise a bit with your bowling and have some more batting.
Yep. Gurkirat, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yes, so I feel that their 11, like Dan said, is more or less structured around the same lines how it was last time with the number of all rounders. I like the top five looks good in terms of covering all the areas possible. There's a possible left hand right hand combination that they can keep with KL and QDK opening. Then Hooda one down if probably KL gets dismissed. It could be Pooran if QDK gets dismissed. So those are your three or four. Then at five you have Shriners. I'd like to see someone like Prerak Mankad in the 11 instead of an Ayush Badoni, because I feel that for a number 6 or a number 7 spot, he's a better batter than what Ayush Badoni is. Also more experienced with Kunal Pandey at 7. And then, you have your four bowlers in Avesh, Bishnoi, Mark Wood, and there's one other player who I had noted down.
Nutcut.
Yeah, In absence of
Nutcut.
Mohsin, it would be
Ah,
Unatkat. If there is no Mohsin, to me it was surprising that they also bought someone like Amit Mishra, and they have Shabaz Nadeem as well in the spin bowling attack. I'd like to see someone like Bishnoi to be allowed to bowl the way he knows best. My biggest fear with that franchise is that Bishnoi will probably become someone a traditional leggy instead of trying to be a Rashid Khan, because Bishnoi naturally has that pace and the faster trajectory. He had Puran in a lot of trouble when West Indies were touring India last year around, and he was also dropped. Bishnoi was also dropped by Lucknow for a few games. So I'd like to see that happen. And I think in the absence of Mohsin, at least for the first few games, Avesh Khan has a much bigger role to play now. And this IPL is also important for Avesh Khan, because you see a lot of Indian bowlers who are injured. There's Mukesh Chaudhary who's injured, Mohsin Khan is injured, Bumrah's not there, Prasidh Krishna's out. So there is an opportunity to be taken by any domestic Indian pacer to try and make it to, if not to the Indian team directly, then just be around, be around there, that when the opportunity presents itself, you can be at least in the 15, if not in the 11. So that is what I see. And when it comes to impact players, there's someone like Yash Thakur who they bought, who I think can be a good player. He's just looking at his numbers over here. He got 15 wickets at an average of 15.86 in the last Syed Mushtaq tournament. So there's that. And there's Manan Vora, there's Ayush Badoni. So there are players who they can try as good fits in an impact player situation.
hmm. Yep. I think to just detail out our discussion further, maybe we can go to Dan's 11 and take some thoughts from them.
Sure.
Yep. Dan, over to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is certainly not clear cut. As I said earlier, I think that discussion around Mark Wood's spot is probably the one big debating point for this squad. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Daniel Sams played ahead of him. So Andy Flower, the coach, has Daniel Sams at Trent Rockets in England in the 100. So he's obviously a big fan of Daniel Sams, and I think that could easily be a swap there. But yeah, this is quite difficult to predict. I do fear for the death bowling a little bit. Obviously, we've touched on that point already about their numbers last season at the death. I certainly don't think that on paper they've done much to change that this year. So that's going to be a challenge, especially if Sam's plays, because his numbers at the death are pretty expensive generally. So yeah, I think the top five kind of are going to pick themselves. Top six are going to pick themselves. Kunal, you can debate whether he bats ahead or behind Prerak Mankad, who I want to see how he gets on at this level, because I think that he was unlucky not to play more last year at Punjab. So that's exciting for me as well, because I think that he's a player who probably could break through. I would say he's a breakthrough player, but at an older age, if you like. Impact players, there's plenty. As you said, Vora could easily swap with Badoni as the batter. Kay Gautam, I think, could be a really interesting impact player given that super high intent that he has. Mishra provides more of the conventional spin option, turning the ball away from the right-hander. And Yash Thakur, as I think Gurkharat mentioned earlier, 15 wickets for Vidarbha last season domestically, outbowled Umesh Yadav, for example, and in the same team, and looks like a interesting player to follow, I think, for this tournament as well. I think it's 24 years old.
Yeah. So one question: both of you are pretty big on Prerak Mankad instead of someone like Ayush Badoni, who has played in the last season and did decently well, started well. Maybe it fizzled out a little later, but I think Lucknow was still in the process of identifying the correct spot for him. Any particular reason, Dan? We've already heard from Gurkirat, but from you, of choosing Mankad over Badoni?
Yeah, for me, it's simply the bowling option that he provides as well, and also kind of a bit of what I think they might do in terms of, you look at Andy Flower's squads around the world, and they often have a lot of all-rounders in there, and you can see that here. You've got Huda, you've got Stoinis, you've got Krunal, you could have Mankad, you could easily have Daniel Sams in this team as well. So there's 4 or 5 all-rounder options here that I think are really potential starters for this. You'd also have someone like Kyle Mayers as well, who offers that coming as an overseas player as well. So look, there's a lot of options there. I think that's kind of how they're going to structure up based on how the head coach likes to organise his starting 11s generally.